You grab your morning coffee in a sudden rush and get a very sharp paper cut. A tiny drop of crimson blood quickly pools on the tip of your index finger. Have you ever considered the true cosmic origin of that dark red stain? That familiar metallic taste and the vast rusty deserts of Mars share an impossible cosmic secret. The exact same violent astronomical event forged both the red planet and your flowing veins. Something absolutely unimaginable hides right inside that completely ordinary and rather frustrating little morning accident. Meet Marcus, a 28-year-old graphic designer standing on a brutally crowded Chicago subway train during the morning rush. The piercing screech of metal against metal echoes as the heavy train violently hurtles forward through the underground. He is completely surrounded by dozens of exhausted commuters tightly packed into this metallic tube of morning misery. Every single person is aggressively avoiding eye contact while desperately clutching their overpriced cups of lukewarm coffee. This is the modern hustle culture, where everyone is constantly rushing toward an invisible finish line of success. Marcus stares blankly at his own ghostly reflection, perfectly mirrored in the scratched glass of the train window. He watches the blurred lights of the subway tunnel flash across his tired face in a hypnotic rhythm. Despite being physically pressed against 3 different strangers, he has never felt more profoundly isolated and entirely alone. How is it mathematically possible to feel so completely invisible while surrounded by this massive ocean of humanity? He feels exactly like a completely meaningless and highly replaceable cog inside a giant and unforgiving corporate machine. His entire existence essentially revolves around answering pointless emails to afford a ridiculously expensive apartment he barely sees. The crushing weight of this endless daily grind presses down on his chest like a heavy physical blanket. Is this repetitive cycle of working and sleeping truly the grand culmination of his entire human existence? Here is where it gets incredibly interesting when we fundamentally examine this overwhelming sense of modern dread. Marcus looks at his hands gripping the cold steel pole and seriously wonders if his life actually matters. He calculates his sheer insignificance against the staggering population of Chicago and feels his stomach immediately drop. He is just one fragile biological organism frantically navigating through an incredibly complex and brutally indifferent concrete jungle. The relentless pressure to constantly achieve and perfectly perform is silently suffocating the very soul out of him. Everyone in this crowded train car is completely trapped inside their own separate digital universe on their smartphones. They are all desperately scrolling through perfectly curated social media feeds that only amplify their deep internal inadequacies. This profound collective alienation is the incredibly toxic byproduct of a society that aggressively worships constant, unending productivity. Nobody actually cares about who you truly are beneath the polished, professional surface of your carefully constructed resume. Why do we willingly accept this incredibly unnatural state of constant anxiety as our normal daily reality? Outside this speeding metal box, the freezing Chicago winter wind is aggressively howling through the concrete downtown streets. Inside the train, the suffocating body heat of 100 depressed workers creates a deeply uncomfortable, sticky atmosphere. Marcus can distinctly smell the cheap, artificial vanilla perfume of the tired woman standing entirely too close to him. He desperately wants to scream out loud just to tangibly prove that he actually exists in this cold reality. Now, listen carefully, because this specific feeling of absolute nothingness is practically a universal epidemic among our generation. Marcus closes his heavy eyes and legitimately wishes he could just dissolve completely into the surrounding empty space. The towering skyscrapers above the ground suddenly feel like giant tombstones, marking the painful burial of his childhood dreams. He is merely drifting through empty space and time without any meaningful purpose or clear definitive destination. The overwhelming vastness of this indifferent city makes him feel significantly smaller than a single microscopic grain of sand. He takes a deep, shaky breath of the incredibly stale recycled air circulating inside the crowded underground subway car. Another random stranger aggressively bumps his shoulder without even bothering to utter a basic, simple word of polite apology. Marcus simply absorbs the painful physical impact because his emotional capacity has already been entirely depleted by the city. Does anybody actually realize how incredibly fragile and completely exhausted we all truly are beneath our tough urban armor? The screeching train finally aggressively jolts to a sudden halt at the busy illuminated downtown station concrete platform. A massive flood of mindless human bodies instantly pushes Marcus out through the sliding metal doors without any mercy. Every single step he slowly takes on the dirty concrete platform feels incredibly heavy and completely devoid of purpose. He anxiously checks his watch and watches the tiny numbers mercilessly counting away the finite seconds of his youth. Another precious fraction of his short life is permanently lost inside this dark, depressing underground transit tunnel. He truly believes his pathetic existence is absolutely nothing more than a statistical rounding error in the grand universe. But the real secret is that this profound sense of total insignificance is actually built upon a massive conceptual illusion. His deeply ingrained belief of being a worthless speck of dust is about to be completely scientifically shattered. Let us return to Marcus standing quietly inside that crowded and slightly depressing Chicago subway train car today. He feels entirely disconnected from the bustling metropolitan world that constantly moves rapidly around his tired body. The heavy, repetitive routine of modern city life makes his daily existence seem profoundly invisible and totally insignificant. He genuinely believes that he is merely another anonymous passenger silently waiting for a completely uninspiring tomorrow morning. But what if his fundamental physical reality actually tells a completely different and far more magnificent cosmic story? Here is where the scientific reality gets incredibly fascinating for anyone feeling lost in the modern urban crowd. Think carefully about the physical exhaustion deeply radiating through his aching muscles after a very long, stressful workday. His beating heart continuously pumps millions of microscopic red blood cells throughout his severely exhausted physical human frame. Every single one of those tiny biological structures carries something fundamentally crucial for his ongoing human physical survival. They actively transport vital oxygen directly to his tired brain using a very specific and highly resilient chemical element. That essential chemical element driving his entire biological operating system is actually just completely ordinary and very common iron. Imagine a microscopic metallic claw constantly grabbing floating oxygen molecules from his deep and incredibly heavy exhausted subway breaths. Without that tiny metallic structure safely secured deep inside him, his complex human consciousness simply could not possibly exist. But the absolutely most astonishing factual scientific detail is exactly how that specific heavy metal originally got firmly there. Where exactly did the endless dark universe actively manufacture the solid iron currently flowing through Marcus right at this moment? Our fragile biological human bodies completely lack the natural chemical ability to independently produce this incredibly vital and necessary element. Even our massive and highly beautiful planet Earth cannot independently manufacture a single microscopic elemental atom of pure solid iron. Our incredibly bright local burning sun also completely lacks the immense gravitational nuclear pressure actively required for this complex creation. Creating this specific essential metal requires a thermodynamic cosmic environment far more extreme and incredibly violent than anything located nearby. It strictly demands the absolute explosive violent destruction of a massive cosmic giant blazing brightly through the endless dark vacuum billions of solar years ago. An unimaginably colossal giant star finally reached the desperate and highly violent end of its lifespan. The terrifying inward gravitational core collapse quickly created a massive cosmic shockwave that completely shattered the incredibly dense, glowing stellar center. That totally unimaginable cosmic star explosion violently forged the very first complex particles of heavy durable metals across the deep endless space. those incredibly hot, microscopic atomic iron fragments drifted silently through the freezing cold, dark vacuum for countless millions of lonely cosmic eons. Eventually, they slowly gathered together through their mutual gravitational pull to actively help firmly form the primitive foundational rocky crust of our planet. Those ancient metallic stellar fragments eventually found their natural cosmic way into the rich and highly fertile earthly agricultural soil. They quietly traveled upward through deep, branching green plant roots and eventually reached the nutritious daily meals sitting upon his warm dinner table. Every single dropping pulse of his warmly circulating blood proudly contains the deeply brilliant and indestructible physical remnants of incredibly ancient, long-dead stars. He is quite literally carrying the glorious, glowing wreckage of a massive, violent cosmic supernova, safely hidden deep inside his tired human blue veins. Does that specific scientific truth honestly sound like the completely accurate factual description of a truly insignificant and entirely ordinary young modern human being? How do you actually build these incredibly complex heavy elements in the cold vacuum of empty space? The entire structure of our known reality depends heavily on this very specific and brutal manufacturing process happening far away. Think of a massive, ancient star as an unimaginably huge balancing act happening right over your head. Gravity is relentlessly trying to crush the star inward with an absolute, terrifying, and truly overwhelming force. It is a constant, invisible pressure that wants to squeeze the entire stellar body into a microscopic point. Meanwhile, the nuclear fusion at the core is pushing outward, desperately keeping the massive celestial body perfectly stable. It is exactly like a giant balloon where the tight rubber pulls in while the heated air pushes out. For several billions of years, this incredibly delicate cosmic dance continues flawlessly as hydrogen slowly fuses into stable helium. However, absolutely nothing lasts forever in this vast universe, not even the most glorious and massive cosmic structures. Stars are fundamentally finite machines, burning through their highly limited fuel reserves with a reckless and beautiful abandon. Eventually, the dying star completely burns through its primary fuel supply, and the outward protective pressure suddenly drops drastically. When that mighty fusion engine inevitably stutters, gravity instantly takes the upper hand and begins a truly catastrophic collapse. Here is where it gets extremely interesting, because what happens in these final moments is the true miracle of existence. The immense outer layers of the star crash inward at a very significant fraction of the cosmic speed of light. They violently slam into the rapidly shrinking core, creating a level of compression that defies our normal human comprehension completely. Imagine taking the combined weight of 3 million fully loaded pickup trucks and balancing them perfectly on a single copper penny. Now multiply that specific terrifying pressure by 1 trillion, and you might barely begin to understand the conditions inside. That is the exact kind of unimaginable, mind-bending pressure currently crushing the center of this dying, isolated celestial giant. Under this extreme physical force, the core heats up to billions of degrees and rapidly forces entirely new nuclear reactions. Helium atoms are violently smashed together to create carbon, which is the very foundational backbone of all known biological life. Then the powerful stellar forge fuses carbon into oxygen, allowing the beautiful future possibility of vast oceans and breathable atmospheres. It continues aggressively moving down the complex periodic table, forging glowing neon, hard silicon, and ultimately stopping at dense solid iron. At this precise moment, the star is layered like a massive cosmic onion, holding completely different burning elements in various shells. Why does the spectacular nuclear fusion chain suddenly stop dead in its tracks when it finally reaches the heavy element of iron? Fusing iron atoms requires much more energy than it produces, effectively bankrupting the star's internal energy economy instantly and permanently. With absolutely no outward nuclear pressure left at all, gravity unleashes its ultimate, devastating, and final crushing blow without any mercy. The entire massive star collapses inward in a fraction of a single second, and then violently rebounds off the dense iron core. This incredibly violent rebound triggers a massive blinding supernova, an explosion so incredibly bright it outshines an entire galaxy of stars. In that spectacular, blinding flash of absolute destruction, the sheer kinetic energy forces iron atoms together to create even heavier elements. Valuable materials like shiny gold, heavy platinum, and radioactive uranium are uniquely forged in this chaotic fraction of a second. They are born strictly from the absolute agony and violent death of a truly magnificent and ancient celestial titan. The immense supernova explosion aggressively blasts these newly minted elements out into the vast, empty, and incredibly cold cosmic void. These glowing, majestic clouds of gas and dust will travel quietly across the silent universe for billions of lonely, dark years. They carry the absolutely essential heavy building blocks needed to form rocky planets, vast, deep oceans, and eventually complex organic life. Without this terrifying cosmic destruction, the universe would only be a boring, sterile sea of simple hydrogen and helium gas forever. They will eventually drift together, clumping up under their own collective gravity to form a brand new, beautiful solar system like ours. Are we truly just talking collections of highly recycled cosmic debris from a violently dead, unimaginably ancient star? Every single heavy atom currently existing in your physical body was manufactured directly inside this exact, catastrophic, and beautiful stellar forge. Now imagine a slightly different human scenario unfolding quietly under the bright neon lights of a sprawling Los Angeles apartment. It is exactly 2 a.m, and a young woman named Sarah is standing alone in her modern bathroom. She is slowly wiping away the heavy layers of foundation and thick concealer that she wore throughout the exhausting day. As the thick makeup dissolves onto the cotton pad, her bare skin is fully exposed to the harsh fluorescent light. She leans in closer to intensely inspect the reflection, staring back at her, and feels an overwhelming wave of disappointment. Why does she feel this sudden sense of utter inadequacy when looking at her own completely natural human face tonight? The tragic answer lies in the relentless culture of absolute perfection, constantly bombarding her generation through countless illuminated glowing screens. Every single day, her social media feed is endlessly flooded with heavily filtered influencers, projecting an utterly flawless, unattainable lifestyle. These digital algorithms meticulously serve up thousands of videos showcasing impossibly smooth skin, perfectly symmetrical faces, and meticulously sculpted bodies. In this modern digital age, completely normal human characteristics are aggressively framed as terrible physical defects, needing immediate surgical fixing. Sarah deeply internalizes this highly toxic messaging and mentally weaponizes it against her own perfectly functioning and entirely healthy body. She aggressively criticizes the slight unevenness of her jawline and the tiny textured acne scars scattered across her tired cheeks. The sheer psychological weight of constantly striving for this manufactured Californian beauty standard leaves her feeling profoundly alienated from herself. She stares directly at the tiny dark spots on her skin and desperately wishes she could somehow magically erase them. It is a vicious internal debate where her rational mind completely loses to the suffocating expectations of modern internet culture. She genuinely believes that these superficial physical traits make her inherently less valuable than the carefully curated digital avatars online. Every perceived blemish becomes a massive personal failure in a modern society, loudly rewarding artificial symmetry over genuine biological reality. Have you ever stared deeply into a bedroom mirror and felt that exact same hollow pain of simply lacking perfection? The utterly devastating reality is that millions of young people quietly endure this exact same private ritual of hatred nightly. She focuses all her exhausted mental energy on absolutely despising the physical matter that currently makes up her beautiful face. To her highly critical eyes, every single invisible pore and slight discoloration represents a fundamental error in her genetic code. She desperately wants to tear away the very fabric of her physical existence to reveal something socially acceptable hiding underneath. Now listen carefully, because here is where it gets incredibly interesting regarding those perceived tiny imperfections she hates so much. The profound irony is that she is harshly judging the absolute most complex and magnificent structural architecture ever successfully assembled. She feels hopelessly disconnected from her own skin, utterly unaware of the unbelievable cosmic journey required to create those features. This intense daily personal hatred is entirely based on a fundamentally flawed understanding of what it actually means to exist. Can we somehow shift this deeply tragic perspective by looking much deeper into the actual material composing her flawed face? This incredibly harsh, superficial judgment completely ignores the fundamental truth of her deeply miraculous and statistically impossible physical biological presence. She's quite literally crying over the specific arrangement of ancient cosmic materials that somehow miraculously managed to gain consciousness. The desperate superficial desire to fit perfectly into a tiny smartphone screen completely blinds her to the massive historical legacy. We desperately need to completely reframe how we deeply view these magnificent physical bodies before this toxic digital culture wins. She stands in front of that brightly lit bathroom mirror, completely despising the natural uneven texture of her own skin. Every single tiny freckle and microscopic blemish feels like a massive catastrophic failure in this modern digital age of perfection. We are constantly bombarded with heavily filtered images that aggressively demand an absolutely flawless and completely unnatural physical human appearance. Why do we allow these completely artificial digital algorithms to ruthlessly dictate the fundamental value of our own biological existence? This incredibly toxic mindset essentially forces brilliant young women like Sarah to constantly apologize for their basic human physical forms. They desperately try to scrub away their natural features just to fit into an incredibly narrow and entirely fabricated aesthetic. But the real secret is that this deeply ingrained societal standard of beauty is mathematically and scientifically completely backwards. Those tiny perceived imperfections on her tired face are actually the most profound physical evidence of a magnificent cosmic journey. If you deeply understand the actual physics behind those specific atoms, you will completely stop chasing that toxic digital perfection. Nature absolutely does not care about the heavily edited photos currently trending on your favorite popular American social media platforms. Nature only cares about the incredibly complex and highly improbable series of cosmic events that miraculously allowed you to exist. Consider for a moment the specific physical composition of that uneven skin she is currently trying to hide with foundation. The carbon forming her cellular structure and the oxygen she breathes were entirely forged inside the crushing core of stars. It takes an unimaginable amount of extreme gravitational pressure over millions of years to successfully fuse these complex, heavy elements. How can anyone possibly consider a physical body made from the fiery remnants of ancient supernovas to be somehow inadequate? The universe literally had to brutally destroy its most magnificent giant stars just to scatter these essential building blocks everywhere. That specific asymmetrical freckle on her left cheek is actually a direct result of this incredibly chaotic and beautiful distribution. Absolute mathematical perfection simply does not exist anywhere in the natural physical world because the universe thrives on beautiful asymmetry. Even the incredibly vast galaxies spiraling in the deep dark cosmos are not perfectly symmetrical when you observe them closely. If the early universe was completely uniform and perfectly smooth, no stars or planets would have ever actually formed at all. Those tiny microscopic variations and biological quirks are exactly what makes her physical existence incredibly rare and uniquely profoundly valuable. The deeply superficial beauty standards of modern Los Angeles completely fail to recognize this monumental scale of natural biological engineering. We foolishly spend millions of dollars trying to surgically alter the magnificent physical vessels that took billions of years to evolve. Imagine looking at a priceless ancient artifact and angrily complaining that the edges are not perfectly smooth and brightly polished. That is exactly what we are doing when we harshly criticize our natural human bodies in front of a mirror. Are we truly going to let a temporary cultural trend invalidate a physical masterpiece constructed by the cosmos itself? True body positivity is not just about blindly repeating empty motivational phrases while secretly still hating your own physical reflection. It is about deeply recognizing that every single cell in your body is a triumphant survivor of a hostile universe. Your incredibly complex biological system is currently successfully fighting off gravity and entropy just to keep you consciously alive today. The slight curve of a nose or the soft texture of natural skin are incredible physical manifestations of astronomical history. There is absolutely nothing basic or ordinary about a conscious biological entity composed entirely of recycled cosmic stardust and energy. You do not need an artificial digital filter when your actual physical existence is already a statistical mathematical impossibility. The very concept of a physical flaw is completely meaningless when viewed through the incredibly vast lens of cosmic time. Sarah slowly puts down her makeup wipe and finally looks at her bare, unedited face with a completely new perspective. She is no longer just a struggling young woman desperately trying to meet an impossible standard set by toxic algorithms. She is a breathtakingly complex biological structure, carefully assembled by the continuous evolution of the entire known physical universe. The heavy burden of unnatural digital perfection finally begins to melt away under the illuminating light of this profound cosmic truth. Why should she ever feel physically inadequate when the ancient stars themselves had to violently die for her to live? Every supposed flaw is actually a beautiful signature written by the universe to proudly declare that she is entirely real. So we constantly stare into our modern digital screens, trying desperately to find some deeper meaning. We convince ourselves that human existence is just a highly random biological accident happening on a tiny rock. Society frequently teaches us that we are entirely insignificant creatures wandering aimlessly through a cold and completely indifferent void. We measure our personal worth by evaluating highly superficial metrics like corporate job titles or modern bank accounts. But honestly, think about the profound absurdity of that severely limited modern American perspective for just a moment. How could a temporary cultural construct possibly define the truly staggering cosmic reality of your actual physical existence? But here is where the entire cosmic narrative suddenly gets incredibly interesting for every single one of us. We frequently look up at the dark midnight sky, feeling profoundly isolated and completely disconnected from that vast emptiness. We mistakenly assume that the massive universe simply exists out there while we are trapped down here below. That specific philosophical separation is arguably the absolute greatest intellectual illusion ever accidentally created by the modern human mind. You are absolutely never just a passive biological observer standing completely outside the grand continuous theatrical play of space-time. Every single invisible atomic particle currently vibrating inside your living human body firmly proves exactly the opposite truth. Consider the sheer mathematical improbability of your highly specific biological physical assembly currently sitting there reading this information. The countless ancient galaxies did not simply spin endlessly through the dark frozen vacuum just for absolutely no reason. They violently crashed and spectacularly burned over billions of years specifically to carefully manufacture the fundamental building blocks of you. If the universe is truly just a giant meaningless physical machine, then why exactly did it bother creating consciousness? Why would an entirely dead and perfectly indifferent cosmic void suddenly need to deliberately grow a pair of seeing eyes? These are incredibly fundamental questions that thoroughly shatter our highly cynical modern belief in complete biological human insignificance everywhere. You are absolutely not a highly random, meaningless speck of biological dust simply blowing blindly through an empty room. You are actually a highly organized and incredibly complex temporary biological vessel holding the absolute oldest surviving physical materials. The supposedly empty and completely dark space, separating our modern human cities from those distant glowing stars, is entirely fake. There is an unbroken physical atomic chain directly linking your beating human heart to the incredibly violent ancient stellar nurseries. Nature fundamentally does not actually care about your temporary modern social anxieties or your perceived superficial physical human flaws. The universe patiently invested roughly 14 billion years of continuous violent stellar evolution just to carefully construct your brain. We consistently spend our incredibly brief and highly fragile human lives heavily worrying about entirely fabricated modern societal pressures. Meanwhile, our very own physical bodies are actively keeping the most profound ancient cosmic secrets safely hidden deep inside. Do you seriously still believe that your specific personal existence is just some highly random and totally meaningless cosmic accident? Every incredibly complex atomic structure holding your physical biological form together strongly argues against that highly depressing philosophical conclusion. The next time you feel completely overwhelmed by the crushing daily weight of modern American society, just remember this. You are quite literally the massive eternal universe finally waking up to consciously observe its own breathtaking intrinsic beauty. It is remarkably funny how easily we entirely forget our truly profound connection to the vast surrounding cosmic architecture. We somehow manage to successfully domesticate the ancient raw electrical power of the stars just to endlessly scroll online. We somehow completely lost our fundamental awe and deep appreciation for the truly miraculous nature of our very own existence. But deeply understanding your genuine physical connection to the endless cosmos forcefully changes your entire fundamental perspective on everything. When you fully realize that you are completely woven into the very mathematical fabric of reality, everything feels totally different. Far away from the extremely chaotic and densely crowded subways of modern Chicago, a completely different kind of heavy silence truly exists. Let us travel down to a very isolated, incredibly quiet wooden porch situated deep in the vast, dusty plains of rural Texas. The deafening, relentless noise of the busy modern city is entirely replaced by the gentle, rhythmic chirping of hidden crickets in the cold dark. Sitting alone in an old wooden rocking chair is Arthur, a man of exactly 65 years, staring into the endless night sky. He gently rubs his thin, fragile hands together, feeling the undeniable stiffness of his aging joints under the cool evening breeze. The prominent blue veins boldly map out a long, exhausting life on the rapidly thinning, translucent skin of his tired knuckles. Have you ever looked at your own aging reflection and suddenly felt an overwhelming wave of absolute, paralyzing panic? He feels the heavy, undeniable weight of linear time pressing down on his incredibly fragile, slowly degrading biological frame tonight. For Arthur, the terrifying reality of his own mortality is no longer just a distant, abstract philosophical concept to debate. It is a very real ticking clock echoing loudly in the absolute silence of this expansive, lonely Texas ranch. Every single ache in his tired bones serves as a cruel, relentless reminder that his physical machine is gradually breaking down. We spend our entire youth recklessly burning through our days, foolishly believing that our personal timeline stretches out into a boundless infinity. But sitting here tonight, Arthur realizes with a crushing certainty that the remaining active chapters of his story are terrifyingly few. He is profoundly afraid of simply fading away into the dark, becoming absolutely nothing but a forgotten, dusty, and silent memory. Why does the incredible human mind, perfectly capable of imagining absolute eternity, have to be trapped inside a rapidly decaying shell? This profound existential dread is the ultimate inescapable shadow that silently follows every single human being on this lonely planet. He quietly watches the ancient, glittering starlight above and wonders if all his past daily struggles and small victories ever actually mattered. The absolute sheer scale of the universe above his fragile Texas home makes his finite existence feel completely and utterly pointless. He feels exactly like a tiny, insignificant speck of dust, waiting nervously for the inevitable cosmic wind to finally blow him away. Now listen carefully, because here is where the story gets incredibly interesting, especially when we actually look at what his hands are. We tend to view our biological aging process as a complete tragic failure of our bodies to maintain their youthful structure. We desperately fight against the natural wrinkles and the graying hair, fiercely treating the natural progression of time as a terrible enemy. What if this frightening biological decay is not actually a tragic ending, but rather a necessary step in a much grander process? Those stiff, painful joints and that visibly thinning skin are not merely a sad collection of dying, completely random biological cells. They are incredibly complex, temporary arrangements of ancient matter that have successfully survived unimaginable cosmic distances and violent stellar explosions. Arthur sits there quietly dreading the inevitable end of his consciousness, completely forgetting the immortal, indestructible nature of his actual physical components. The calcium currently aching in his tired, aging bones was literally forged in the terrifying, fiery heart of a dying cosmic star. His very real fear of ultimate death is simply a temporary illusion beautifully created by a highly evolved, deeply anxious biological brain. The universe does not actually recognize the human concept of a final, tragic death. It only understands the beautiful process of continuous transformation. Is it not strangely comforting to know that the fundamental building blocks of his fragile body are literally indestructible and completely eternal? Even as he sits quietly on his lonely wooden porch, feeling the cold, biting Texas wind, he is participating in a majestic, invisible cosmic dance. His slowly beating heart and his incredibly shallow breathing are deeply connected to the exact same fundamental physical laws governing massive swirling spiral galaxies. He is terribly afraid of losing his precious, highly limited time, yet every single atom inside his body has already existed for billions of years. We are all essentially ancient, immortal pieces of the physical universe, temporarily experiencing the strange, highly beautiful and terrifying illusion of a truly finite life. Arthur slowly looks back down at his trembling, wrinkled hands, and the crushing, heavy weight of his dark existential anxiety finally begins to shift slightly. The sparkling, starry sky above is not cruelly mocking his incredibly short human lifespan. It is waiting patiently to gently welcome its scattered pieces home. Let's think about the fundamental laws governing those aching joints. Arthur constantly rubs on his porch. According to the strictest principles of thermodynamics, absolutely nothing in this vast universe is ever truly lost. The scientific reality of human existence is far more comforting than our deepest late-night anxieties might suggest. The sheer beauty of this scientific reality provides a deeply profound comfort for anyone facing their twilight years. Every single ounce of energy currently pulsing through his tired veins must eventually go somewhere when it stops. It is a simple, undeniable fact of physics that energy cannot be created and cannot ever be destroyed. Our physical universe meticulously tracks and perfectly preserves every single tiny particle that has ever existed throughout time. Does this fundamental universal law not offer a profoundly beautiful kind of deeply reassuring physical eternal life? Now listen carefully, because here is where it gets absolutely fascinating regarding his quietly deteriorating human physical frame. Those fragile aging bones are primarily constructed from heavy calcium forged inside dying ancient supernovas incredibly long ago. When Arthur eventually passes away, that precious stellar material will simply return directly to the vast terrestrial ecosystem. His complex atomic structure will slowly break down and disperse perfectly into the sweeping winds of the plains. The exact same calcium atoms that bravely supported his entire long life will inevitably find their way home. They might effortlessly become part of a towering oak tree or deeply nourish the dry Texas desert soil. His physical body is literally made of the same magical stuff shining brilliantly in the night sky above. We constantly fear the impending end of our consciousness without realizing our physical components are already completely immortal. There is a deeply reassuring scientific truth hiding right inside the seemingly tragic biological decay of the body. You are fundamentally composed of the exact same indestructible cosmic building blocks as the brightest constellations around you. Why do we tragically view death as a final ending instead of a beautiful, magnificent cosmic recycling process? The universe is merely borrowing these brilliant atomic structures to temporarily create the wonderful subjective experience of Arthur. Once his incredible biological journey beautifully concludes, the cosmos simply takes its precious materials back to carefully build something entirely new. There is absolutely no true physical destruction involved in this entirely natural and completely unavoidable biological transition phase. This undeniable physical continuity means that every single person who has ever lived remains permanently etched into reality. We do not need to rely on complex supernatural beliefs to find genuine comfort in our ultimate mortality. The simple objective truth of our enduring atomic legacy is more than enough to completely quiet our dread. Even long after his very final breath, Arthur will continue to physically exist in the rustling dry leaves. He will literally become one with the magnificent silent landscape he has quietly watched for so many years. Is it not incredibly peaceful to deeply know you will eventually seamlessly merge back into the grand tapestry? Your fundamental essence will literally continue to interact with the amazing physical world for countless billions of years. The grand universal law of conservation absolutely guarantees that your unique physical signature can never be fully erased. Every single carbon molecule currently forming your beating heart will undoubtedly continue to participate in this grand dance. You are essentially a temporary but incredibly beautiful arrangement of stardust that will eventually return to the source. Therefore, the fading physical strength in those elderly, weathered hands is not a tragedy, but a natural return. It is simply the inevitable slow release of ancient captured stellar energy back into the boundless, swirling ocean. We are all just brilliant dying stars, slowly preparing to scatter our magnificent collected light across the universe. This undeniable connection to the immortal cosmos proves that true biological death is actually just a magnificent illusion. Can you finally feel the immense psychological relief of knowing you are truly permanent parts of the universe? Imagine a gigantic galaxy filled with trillions of burning stars completely devoid of any actual awareness. The vast expanses of space are physically massive, but completely unable to appreciate their own monumental existence. All those spectacular nebulas and swirling black holes simply exist in an absolute void of complete silence. Without a conscious mind to perceive these celestial wonders, the entire cosmos is essentially entirely meaningless. Is a beautiful sunset actually beautiful if there is absolutely nobody there to actively witness its colors? The profound philosophical twist is that the universe finally woke up the exact moment human beings evolved. You are not just a random biological accident wandering aimlessly through a cold and completely indifferent galaxy. You are quite literally the cosmos suddenly opening its eyes to finally observe its own majestic reflection. The incredibly complex atomic structures inside your brain allow the universe to actually think about itself constantly. Every time you gaze up at the night sky, it is just the universe looking back inward. This makes your specific individual perspective an incredibly rare and infinitely valuable center of the entire cosmos. Your unique personal experiences and individual memories are literally the universe experiencing itself through a specific lens. There is absolutely no one else anywhere in space who can observe reality exactly the way you do. When you casually drink your morning coffee, the entire universe is genuinely feeling those warm, pleasant sensations. Why would you ever feel small when your consciousness is the ultimate crowning achievement of cosmic evolution? We are constantly conditioned to believe that physical size always equals actual importance in this vast cosmic arena. People look at massive, swirling gas giants like Jupiter and suddenly feel incredibly tiny and fundamentally insignificant. But Jupiter is ultimately just a giant spinning ball of dumb gas, completely incapable of writing poetry. Your incredibly small biological brain is mathematically infinitely more complex than the absolute largest dead star ever discovered. You personally hold the profound conscious ability to actually love and deeply understand the complicated quantum realm. Here is where it gets interesting regarding your personal place in this massive unfolding cosmic story today. The universe spent 14 billion years frantically expanding and violently exploding just to ultimately create your conscious mind. All that chaotic stellar death and gravitational collapse was simply a necessary prologue to your incredible individual existence. You are the specific localized region of space-time where the universe can finally experience deep joy and sorrow. Your conscious daily awareness essentially transforms a dark, meaningless void into a deeply beautiful and profoundly vibrant reality. Do you truly understand how much incredible cosmic power is currently resting quietly inside your own physical mind? Think about the immense silence that dominated the cosmos before biological brains developed the capacity to process sound. Galaxies were violently colliding and massive supernovas were detonating without a single entity there to actually hear them. The universe was completely deaf and entirely blind until a conscious observer finally emerged from the cosmic dust. Your personal ability to listen to music literally gives the universe the profound capacity to enjoy its own acoustics. Without your active participation, the majestic symphony of the cosmos would play to a completely empty and dark theater. We often mistakenly celebrate extreme self-sacrifice while completely ignoring the incredible cosmic value of our own individual desires. Following your personal dreams in a bustling American city is actually a highly sophisticated manifestation of cosmic energy. Every single time you passionately pursue a new ambition, the universe is actively exploring its own limitless potential. You are the ultimate independent pioneer, navigating through the complicated social structures built by other conscious carbon life forms. Why should we ever apologize for prioritizing our own personal growth in this incredibly vast and expanding universe? The incredibly heavy burden of feeling insignificant is completely crushed when you realize you are the observing universe. Your deeply complex thoughts and chaotic emotional states are simply the cosmos trying to figure out its own identity. Even your darkest moments of existential dread are just the universe temporarily feeling overwhelmed by its own infinite vastness. There is a profound, undeniable beauty in knowing that your consciousness is the highest form of known physical reality. You represent the exact point where dead floating matter finally became smart enough to enthusiastically question its own origin. So the next time you feel completely lost, remember that you are the absolute center of cosmic observation. Your existence fundamentally validates the 14 billion years of chaotic physical reactions that happened long before your birth. You are the awake universe, proudly standing tall and brilliantly shining its conscious light back into the eternal darkness. Your beautifully fragile biological form, currently breathing in this modern American space, is an absolute mechanical cosmic miracle. It genuinely represents the most profoundly complex and highly sophisticated structure currently known in the entire observable universe. Those incredibly ancient cosmic atoms are violently vibrating together to actively perform a truly breathtaking silent biological symphony. Have you ever truly stopped to deeply consider what your remarkable physical vessel is constantly doing right now? Deep inside your warm living chest, an incredibly powerful organic rhythm consistently beats without requiring any conscious effort. Right at this exact passing second, millions of deeply intricate microscopic cellular processes are firing simultaneously inside you. Your incredibly resilient respiratory system automatically pulls vital atmospheric gases from the surrounding space to fuel your existence. It effortlessly transforms that invisible floating air into pure kinetic energy to actively sustain your fragile human consciousness. Think about the staggering amount of silent biological labor constantly happening entirely outside your direct daily mental control. Every single microscopic organic factory inside your tissues tirelessly works to actively repair and beautifully rebuild your form. But listen carefully, because this specific biological reality is exactly where the cosmic story becomes truly profoundly magnificent. Your highly advanced human brain currently operates using the exact same fundamental electrical currents that power violent lightning. Billions of firing neuronal connections continuously flash across your complex nervous system like brilliant miniature galactic stellar explosions. They seamlessly translate entirely abstract philosophical thoughts into highly coordinated physical movements across your incredibly capable human limbs. You are essentially walking around, utilizing a highly advanced supercomputer constructed entirely from recycled ancient stellar stardust materials. Hidden deep inside the protective nucleus of every single biological cell lies an incredibly long, twisting genetic manuscript. That beautiful microscopic chemical code secretly carries the highly detailed evolutionary history of our entire resilient human species. It continuously whispers the ancient biological secrets of profound physical survival directly into your newly forming cellular structures. Does it not feel absolutely incredible to safely carry such a massive wealth of biological history inside you? Your completely silent organic architecture is constantly proving its immense hidden power through these highly intricate, invisible operations. We often mistakenly view our highly susceptible human bodies as terribly weak or severely vulnerable to the modern world. We constantly worry about our incredibly fragile temporary existence simply fading away into the dark and endless night. Yet your highly temporary biological shell is masterfully assembled from the most incredibly indestructible physical materials ever created. You beautifully combine the heartbreaking temporary fragility of human life with the terrifying eternal power of the cosmos. Every incredibly delicate physical movement you gracefully make fundamentally relies on atoms that survived unimaginable massive stellar destructions. This incredibly majestic internal symphony constantly plays a beautifully silent biological melody through your veins every single day. It firmly connects your highly personal modern human experience directly to the incredibly violent and ancient cosmic origins. You absolutely possess a truly staggering amount of invisible physical power quietly humming beneath your soft human skin. How could you ever possibly feel entirely small when you contain such an incredibly vast and beautiful universe? The deeply endless cosmic dark space proudly lives and beautifully breathes directly through your highly unique biological existence. You are actively breathing the exact same atmospheric chemical elements that once rapidly circulated through ancient towering forests. Your highly magnificent physical form continuously stands as the absolute greatest biological achievement of this remarkably vast universe. Every single passing heartbeat serves as a highly powerful biological drum, deeply echoing the profound eternal cosmic rhythm. Embrace this incredibly beautiful scientific truth and confidently walk through your modern daily life with immense cosmic pride. Let us completely pull the camera back for a moment and look at the vast, sprawling geography of this entire massive continent. Down in the quiet, dusty plains of rural Texas, an older gentleman named Arthur is finally making peace with his eternal cosmic bones. Thousands of miles away, standing inside a brightly lit Los Angeles bathroom, young Sarah is wiping away her makeup and finding true stellar perfection. Meanwhile, deep underground in a noisy, crowded Chicago subway, Marcus is no longer just another tired, invisible gear inside the massive urban machine. On the surface, these three ordinary Americans seem completely isolated by massive physical distances, wide generational gaps, and entirely different personal daily struggles. They are living out their highly individual, fragile human stories in completely separate worlds, utterly unaware of the invisible, profound cosmic thread connecting them. Do they not represent the exact same beautiful, terrifying struggle of simply being a conscious biological entity in a seemingly cold, indifferent physical universe? We spend so much of our highly limited time feeling completely disconnected from the strangers walking past us on the busy modern city streets. Our modern society constantly forces us to deeply, intensely focus on our individual career paths, our personal physical insecurities, and our strictly private existential fears. We actively build these massive, invisible psychological walls around ourselves, firmly believing that our specific human pain is entirely unique and completely isolated. Now listen carefully, because here is where the true underlying nature of our shared biological reality becomes truly incredible and deeply, wonderfully comforting. Every single person currently breathing on this planet is actively sharing the exact same ancient, heavily recycled stellar material from the distant past. The undeniable physical boundaries separating the bustling Chicago subway from the quiet Texas porch are absolutely nothing but a persistent, highly convincing neurological illusion. We are fundamentally a single, continuous and breathing tapestry of ancient stardust, temporarily pretending to be completely separate human individuals for a little while. Think about the incredible, majestic scientific poetry actively unfolding across those three completely different human lives at this exact singular moment in cosmic time. The heavy iron, fiercely pumping through the tired veins of Marcus, is literally singing the exact same ancient song as Sarah's perfectly assembled carbon molecules. Both of those incredibly complex biological structures perfectly mirror the indestructible calcium slowly shifting inside Arthur's aging, weathered hands under the vast Texas sky. They are all carrying the spectacular, violent legacy of massive supernova explosions, quietly hidden beneath their fragile, highly vulnerable layers of human skin. Is it not incredibly liberating to suddenly realize that your deepest insecurities are literally constructed from the most magnificent materials in the known universe? This profound physical connection completely shatters the lonely, isolating illusion of modern American individualism that so heavily burdens our deeply exhausted daily minds. The true, profound greatness of our universe is not actually found in the terrifying black voids or the massive, swirling, distant alien galaxies. It is quietly and magnificently hiding right inside the most seemingly mundane, ordinary and frustrating moments of our fragile human existence. Whenever you feel completely crushed by the relentless, heavy expectations of society, remember the unimaginably brutal, crushing stellar forces that forged your heart. Whenever you look in the mirror and hate your perceived physical flaws, remember the billions of years required to assemble your unique, conscious eyes. The frustrating morning commute, the deep midnight anxiety, and the quiet fear of aging are actually the universe successfully experiencing its own complexity. We are not merely insignificant biological accidents, hopelessly wandering through a cold, completely dark, and indifferent void without any real ultimate purpose or meaning. By finally recognizing this fundamental physical bond, we can instantly collapse the massive geographical distances separating our highly individual human lives. The nervous young woman in California and the reflective older man in Texas are truly just different, beautiful expressions of the same star. Every single human interaction quickly becomes a magical event where the ancient physical universe is essentially talking directly to another piece of itself. How can we ever feel alone or insignificant when we are so deeply and physically intertwined with the magnificent fabric of reality itself? Our ordinary, highly flawed, and completely temporary human lives are actually the absolute undeniable pinnacle of cosmic evolution and grand universal purpose. The next time you gaze at the brilliant stars shining across the dark sky, remember this fundamental truth. But the real secret here is shifting how you fundamentally perceive your own deeply ordinary daily life. You are a sophisticated conscious entity formed entirely from the magnificent scattered ashes of ancient dying suns. Your everyday ordinary human existence carries the profound heavy weight of billions of years of complex cosmic evolution. Do you finally realize the absolute breathtaking magnitude of your own quiet physical presence existing right now? Every single fleeting thought represents the vast silent cosmos finally waking up to experience its own unbelievable beauty. We spend our entire lives desperately searching for a deeper meaning somewhere out in the cold, infinite void. The ultimate beautiful truth is, you are not just in the universe, you are the universe itself.